Jerry in Temiskaming, Canada. Temiskaming, huh. Well, there's a new one for you. Paul, I've watched most of your videos. Thank you very much. And I've used the info in the videos and your books to find my speaker sweet spot and room treatment editions, as well as a full edition of AudioQuest power cables, interconnects, and speaker wires. I've also allowed your advice to talk me into adding a PSB subwoofer. Life is good. My question came up when putting the subwoofer on my listening chair and crawling around my room to find its sweet spot. I had located an area where the bass was strong and muddy, and I did not use that spot, obviously. So the question is, would the Subwoofer Crawl be an effective tool for locating an additional bass trap in a room? Thanks, Jerry. So what the heck is he talking about? Well, in my series of books called the Audiophile's Guide, which you can look up on Amazon, the placement of a subwoofer can get kind of involved. Now, for years, when we added a sub, we just set it next to the speaker, to the main speaker, or we put it in the center of the room and turned it up, turned it down, did everything we could to make it blend in as seamlessly as possible. Because, and I've said this, this is my 101st time saying it, the purpose of a subwoofer is to augment the bottom end of your main speakers. We don't want to hear the sub as a separate entity. We don't want to say, oh, there's the bass coming from there. We want it just to sound natural, like my main speakers have great bass. And oftentimes, more often than not, when we place the subwoofer next to our main speakers, that's not what we get. We don't get that great sound. Why? Well, it's the same reason why we actually need subwoofers in the first place, to augment the room. Where I am sitting is not necessarily the best place for both imaging of the main speakers and proper bottom end. With long wavelengths as produced by a subwoofer or even the main speakers, I mean our main speakers, these Aspen FR30s, they go down to 24 hertz. That's not nothing, that's low. But where they are positioned right now is specifically where I have the least boomy bass and the best imaging, so I get the sound field that I'm looking for. Now I do that at the expense of low bass. Why? Because long wavelengths, which is what we get when we create bass, have room modes where these long 20-foot, 10-foot length waveforms bunch up in a room, cause standing waves, dips, and bumps. So where I'm sitting is likely not the best place for bass. So we have to place the woofers, the subwoofers, somewhere else so that when that sound hits me here in this listening chair, I get perfect bass. So how do we do that? The Subwoofer Crawl. And again, go to the Audiophile's Guide, and there's a whole section on subwoofers. There's a whole book on subwoofers. There's a book on setup. And in that, you'll find what we call the Subwoofer Crawl. And that's where we take this seat, and we move the seat, we mark it with an X, and we put the subwoofer where the seat is. Then we play the music, and we crawl around the room, and we find where that sounds correct. And then we mark that spot with an X, and we swap them. Now the subwoofer is where I crawled around and found the best bass. That means here I'll hear exactly the same thing that I heard over there. No difference, right? That's the Subwoofer Crawl. Now what Jerry is asking is, if I do that and I find a place where the bass is particularly bad, should I place a trap there? Well, you could. Here's the thing. I find that traps are almost useless. Some work, I've got them throughout the studio. They help a little bit. I would focus more on having multiple subwoofers placed properly. At the end of the day, you're going to get the best bass you've ever heard in your life by focusing your efforts on that and not trying to trap the bass. And, well, that's all there is to say about that. All right. Thanks for the question. Talk to you later.